I'm so excited to celebrate my mentee's $13,000 salary increase leveraging strategy she learned in the Mentor Me Accelerator. My mentee, Vonya, is a rock star. She's so smart, so capable, and she's been working in higher education for many, many years. She joined the Mentor Me Accelerator wanting to learn more about how to leverage her years of experience in higher education to make more money and have more impact. And so I'm so excited to welcome her to this testimonial to share her story of how she leveraged strategies in the Mentor Me Accelerator. It looks like Vonya is in the room, and I am excited to welcome you into this conversation. Hi, Vonya.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to share your story with this audience. Vonya, you are one of my most supportive mentees. You're always in the comments like, the Mentor Me Accelerator is worth it. Y'all better get this help. Y'all better invest in mentorship.
And in the room. Yes.
Yeah, so I got my number one fan in the room. I'm so excited to celebrate your success and just really talk about how you use what you learned in this program to make more money and have more impact in your career. So, honey, I am excited to get to this testimonial. So let's start with this, Vonya. Can you share with folks how you first came to learn about me and my work? How did you first come across Mentor Me?
So it was on social media. I want to say like 2021.
Okay.
I was in one of my ruts, like, I'm tired of my job. And I just came across your page, and you were always dropping like these gems. And I'm like, okay. So then it became a thing where I would look forward to, your posts, because you would just post some really deep things that spoke to me, but I just wouldn't move.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I stalked your page and your YouTube like a year before I finally said, all right. So you kind of get to that point where it's like you get sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes.
Like, I've tried to do this on my own. I need help.
Yeah.
I can't do this by myself. It's time to hire an expert. And if you want to make money, you're going to have to spend a little money. So Mentor Me is an investment, but it works as long as you put in the work.
Yeah.
So that's how I discovered Ashley. It was through stalking and but I mean, I learned a lot before I joined the program, but when I joined it, I was really able to dig deeper.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that story. It just always shocks me, like what we call, like in marketing, like the buyer's journey. So many women that I work with are like, yeah, Ashley, I've been following your work for 7 years. And I'm like, girl, like, what the heck? Like, how have you been following me for 7 years? And it's the first time we had talked on the phone, like when we, have our initial call. So it always just shocks me, like that journey from like, oh, I see this lady on the internet. Like, I see her helping other people. Maybe I should get some help. And then, it's like the little SpongeBob thing. 7 years later.
Right. I feel like at that point, if you haven't, advanced a little bit, then it's time to hire somebody.
It's time. Yeah, I love that. And I'm just always so grateful when women do, bet on themselves and they do invest in themselves to get help in their career. And like you said, it is an investment, right? The shift from like, I'm going to collect and consume all of this free content on the internet. So I'm actually going to hire someone so I can have a transformative experience in my career is an investment, but it's one that yielded major return on investment for you. So I want to kind of go back to that point in your career where you're like, I'm fed up, this isn't working, I need a shift. Can you talk about like kind of where you were in your career and what was happening at work or what was happening, with your career that made you say, I really need help at this point?
Well, there were many points, but the one that made me seek help was when I realized that I was underpaid. And I'm working multiple jobs with a master's degree. And I'm like, I don't think I don't think this is supposed to happen like
Yeah.
this. And
Yeah.
um that's when I realized I think I should start seeking employment to where I can only have one job. But if I
Yeah.
wanted a second job to like for fun, it would be an option, not mandatory.
Right.
So it was around that time I was like, I'm underpaid. Like, what am I doing wrong? Is something wrong with me? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And so it was just flat out, I need more
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that so often, you know, I talk to women who are severely underpaid. We're talking about 20, 30, 40, $50,000 less than what they should be. And when I point that out to them, they're like, really? Like, oh, Ashley, you don't understand. I work in Georgia. I work in Mississippi. I work in Nevada. So I'm like, girl, I know women who are making 4 times what you're making in Mississippi, in Nevada, and in Georgia, right? And so I think so often it's true that, like, you know, we don't know better. We don't do better until we know better. And a big part of my work is myth busting. It's like saying, like, hey, like, you're not earning enough. Hey, you could advocate for yourself. Hey, you could have this benefit. Like these things that we just don't know until somebody's like pulls the wool over our eyes. So thank you so much for engaging with my content and allowing me to like bust up some of those myths for you and say, like, Vonya, like, you're not making the kind of money that you should be making. And, you know, sometimes people uncover that through, you know, talking to a colleague. Sometimes they uncover that on a website like Glassdoor where they can see other people's salaries. And sometimes they come across it in some of my content. But I'm all for myth busting, because so often you can't do better until you know better. And if you're wondering, am I underpaid? Could I get this benefit? Could this be available to me? Let's schedule a call. A big part of my work in working with women is to help them realize what's available to them. So if you have those kinds of questions, I invite you to schedule a call with me. The call is free. It's at no cost. It's about 25 minutes. And it's a really great opportunity for you to ask some questions about what's going on in your career so that you can at least just know what's available to you. My website is mentor-me.org. So, if you are wanting to schedule a call with me after listening to this conversation that Vonya and I are having, please do go ahead and schedule that call. So you were at your wit's end at work. You're like, I'm being underpaid. This don't make no sense. I need to, get a new job. So you, contacted me. We had our conversation. You invested in the Mentor Me Accelerator program. Can you talk to me about your first, few days or few weeks in the program? Like what you were learning in the program versus maybe what you thought it would be like hiring a career coach. Can you talk to me about like maybe what you thought it would be like versus what it was like?
Yeah, so I honestly thought it was gonna be okay, here's my resume. You can fix it, and then I go wait. I'm gonna go wait for you to finish so that I can get my. Well, I had no idea like what any of this was, and so it's work. I would be like telling any future client a lie if I didn't. It's work. It's not actually giving you this magical tool and then boom, there's a salary increase. No, there is like a full blown curriculum here. And as long as you are doing the work and doing your homework and engaging in the group, you're going to get a lot out of it. My favorite part of the curriculum was the values. Because that's what drove me into my current position was the values.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I used to be, it's so funny you say this. I used to be a little like self-conscious about being a kind of career coach who has like dedicated curriculum. And here's why. Like when you said, you're like, I found your content and you were like dropping gems. And so I was like, great, let me invest. And I think that sometimes when people see me as like a gem dropper, somebody who's like got the facts, they get into my program, they're like, drop the facts. And I'm like, here's an assessment. I need you to complete this. Here is, like a template. I need you to fill this in. And they're like, oh, you're not just going to be talking to me and encouraging me? Like I have to do things? Like, like you're going to help me get a $30,000 salary increase, but I have to do work. Oh, like it's a shocker. So thank you for sharing that. Like there is an investment. there is work, but the results, right? The results is $13,000 salary increase, a value aligned career. Like there's work, but there's results. And I really appreciate you sharing that. And, that story of like, learning about your values, right? Like you said, a lot of times when people think about hiring a career coach, they're like, great, here's my resume. Let me know when you're done and then we'll get to applying for these jobs. And I'm like, girl, what do you care about? What guides your decision making? How is this job search going to be different than the last one, right? That obviously didn't work, right? And it's ending poorly, right? And so, I am a value aligned career coach. That's a very focal point of my approach to this work. And it's why my mentees are so successful. I can flat out say I am the most successful career development coach working today on the internet. It's because my curriculum and my approach is different. It's not just fix your LinkedIn and teach you how to network and then, you're off to the races. It really is this deep focus on who you are, Vonya, how you show up in the world and how that is aligned with industry, right? And how we can make sure that that's also going to help you make more money and have more impact in your career. So thank you for talking about that value aligned approach. If you're not familiar with a value aligned approach to career, check out one of my most recent posts on my page. I just did a post about like the top 5 values and careers that are aligned with them. So if you're like, what are they talking about value aligned? Like, what does that mean? Check out my most recent post. It talks a little bit more about that. So, okay, Vonya, you're in the program and you're doing the homework and you're in session. I think it's always a little bit mystifying my coaching style and like how I show up for mentees, how I talk with them, how I discuss things with them, and just how present I am in the program. Sometimes people are like, okay, is this like a self-paced course? Do I just like come in and do stuff and then like I never hear from this lady again? So can you talk a little bit about like my coaching style and like how present I was for you in the program?
Yeah, so and how can I put this? She was very present. Office hours. It was like school. Professors have office hours. Ashley had office hours. And even outside of office hours, Ashley was engaged. She was available, accessible through email, DMs, all at the same time planning for her wedding.
Oh my gosh, I was planning for my wedding. And now I just celebrated my 2-year wedding anniversary. So that's wild.
So it's just, I never felt alone. You were always accessible and you always made yourself available. And I love that. And, I wish I still had access to my stuff so I could show people, but the comments that you made on everything and just, nope, that's not right. Let's fix it. You wanted it perfect. And I can appreciate that now. But back then I was like, fine. It was like school, but it was needed.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I am very thorough. Like I always tell my mentees, like I'm going to work twice as hard as you. So if you work hard, like you're going to get so much from me. Like I review everything that my mentees submit. I review it in detail. I provide recorded feedback to them every single week, sometimes multiple times a week, depending on what they're submitting. I'm very invested in my programs. This is not like a self-paced course. Like Vonya said, I'm there providing correction, direction, feedback, sometimes challenging feedback, right? One of the things that I often find, some of the most challenging pieces of feedback that I have to give mentees is around interview strategy. Like everybody thinks they're great at interviewing. Everybody's like, yeah, as long as I get the interview, I can like rock it out. I don't know why people have these self-inflated like egos around interviewing. But anyway, everybody thinks they're great at interviewing. And so we do a lot of like interview prep in the program. And I'm often giving some very poignant feedback and people are like, clutches pearls. But it's why my mentees are so successful because I have a strategy that works around interviewing. And so sometimes that feedback can feel a little tight, but it works. And I'm so grateful that you, Vonya, were willing to take that feedback and roll your eyes in private, but do the work in public. Because it yielded results. So you've mentioned casually a couple of times the setting in which we meet, right? My programs are small group. So typically there's 3 to 5, maybe a max of 7 women in the program at any time. So can you talk a little bit about the group component of the program and how that served you as a mentee?
Yeah. I think I enjoyed it the most was that everybody was kind of on like different levels where people were coming in after me and I had some people before me, and I could, since you gave feedback in group, I can kind of like listen to what somebody ahead of me had to, was going through, and I'm like, okay, noted for when I get to module 4.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And it was like I was able to also, I felt like, help people that were behind me. So I think the way that you did that to where it was kind of like scattered a little bit was very helpful because it helps the outgoing students and then the incoming.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. And I do, I really love teaching a small group too, because, career development can be so isolating. It can be so lonely to jobs. So if you feel like you're the only person, putting in applications, you're the only person who didn't get a call back from an employer. You're the only person who is, so tired of updating your cover letter to be very specific for this specific job. But when you get in a small group and there's 3 other women who live in different states, maybe even in different industries, are also navigating that journey, you're like, oh, I'm not alone and I can do this. Cassandra, Keisha, and Krishan is also doing it, right? And so I think that approach is very intentional, and I'm so glad that it served you well. So now let's celebrate this new role, right? This $13,000 salary increase, this value aligned role. This is so major. Vonya, you just secured a new role. And I want to just invite you to talk a little bit about the Mentor Me strategies you used to really help you secure that role. And actually, before we get into securing the role, I know that you had multiple interviews, right? And so you were a finalist for multiple roles. We love to see it. So I want to talk, if you could talk a little bit about how you leverage the Mentor Me strategies to, position yourself as a top candidate for those, roles, to get multiple interviews, to be a finalist for multiple roles, and then, of course, just end up successfully accepting this.
Yeah. So I do want to back up and say that I joined Mentor Me in 2022. Mm-hmm. It is now 2024, and I just secured a job. Mm-hmm. It had nothing to do with my skills. I had what I needed. I was just scared. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to tell anybody out there, do not let fear stand in their way. Because I had all the tools, and I've had them since summer 2022. Mm. Literally just used them. To actually secure the role. I was just scared. But I started applying for jobs fall 22. Didn't really get any results then. I think I was just doing it out of habit, mm-hmm. But I came out for me. I was excited and everything, but I was still kind of fatigued from working from before Ashley, mm-hmm. applying for all those jobs, and I was kind of like a little discouraged. But I had what I needed, but I was scared, yeah. And I was also in a new master's program because I just knew that adding another degree, even though would help me too. A lot going on fall 22. And then we fast forward to 2023, where my health took a sour turn, but I was still applying for jobs. My mom died in March. I'm still applying for jobs. I'm getting them. I'll never forget the day, a couple days before she passed, I had got a job offer. And I was like, yes.
Yes, I remember that. I think you messaged me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yes, Mentor Me work, negotiated salary, that I was like, this still kind of feels low, even area, and I did all the negotiation strategies that Ashley said, and it still wasn't working, like they weren't budging because of their budget, and I was like, okay, not for me, next. But I was still using the strategies and applying and interviewing, and I will say that every interview that I had, I did get a job offer. I think I was also fear applying for jobs that I knew that I was going to get.
Yeah. And let's pause there for a second, Vonya, because I want to make sure people heard that. Like, I want to make sure people heard that. Vonya was applying for jobs and getting every offer. She would apply for a job and get an offer. She would apply for a job and get an offer. She would apply for a job and get an offer. And she wasn't accepting them because they were lower than her standard. Like, that is the power of Mentor Me. Like, you can get the job, but also the power is saying, no, like, I'm not going to accept that. And, you know, I just want to point out that many of these jobs, I was telling Vonya, these jobs are beneath your skill set. And like she said, she was scared. So she's like, let me just apply for a job I know I can get. So let's fast forward to like when you actually stepped into your power and stop being scared.
So in February, my values kicked in.
Yeah.
What are you believing? Because my job was not, it wasn't serving. I love my students. I got 2 of them on here right now. I love my students. But when it came down to one thing that my job did, and they said, I wanted to take off to celebrate the year anniversary of my mother's death. And my boss said, can you celebrate on a different day? And I said, you know, I think it might be time for me to jump.
Yeah.
And that was strike 2, because last year when my doctor put me on ADA accommodations, my job said basically, I'll give you a week, and after that you can just ride to work with somebody. And I was like, you know, they're not, this isn't working. No. And so
it's not value aligned, is it?
Not, because I value my health and I value balance. And so I started applying for jobs that had that in the job description, flat out hybrid work, flexible scheduling. And that's how I got a couple of interviews at my current institution. That's not how I got this job. When I applied for this job, it said on-site, bold, but I wanted to get out of my current institution so bad I didn't care. When I interviewed for the job, HR said, no, it's hybrid. We've changed our mind.
Yeah.
Cool.
I love that.
So I applied. She gave me the offer. She maxed out the salary, and it aligns with everything. I'm transitioning from Macon to Atlanta. They are giving me extra remote days so I can move. Flexible schedule. They said you can be flexible, just be consistent. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. She got the job. She got the job. She got the job. Yes, 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 yes. I love celebrating my mentees, and just seeing you shine, Vonya, is a complete joy. You know, as someone who also has lost their mother, I know deeply how devastating that is and how demoralizing and confusing that can be. And to see you work through that and stay steadfast to your values and your commitment to your career is absolutely remarkable. You should be so proud. I know that she is so proud of you, and I'm excited to see you let go of these side hustles and these second and third jobs and actually work one job and really enjoy it. And really enjoy it, right? And too often, you know, I see women, you know, having to make that sacrifice of 2 and 3 jobs, and, you know, picking up a job at Uber, or picking up a job at the mall, or selling stuff on Etsy. And if that's something that you're interested in, if that's something that you desire to do, kudos to you, sis. But I don't want any woman to have to do that to make ends meet. I want you know, the joy of flexibility and freedom and rest, especially on Freedom Day. Shout out to Juneteenth. So I'm just so excited that you now have that. Again, if folks have questions, we want to stick around to answer your questions. So pop your questions into the comment section, or you can put them in the little question bubble at the bottom of your screen. You know, Vonya, as you reflect back on your time in the Mentor Me Accelerator, you know, what would you say to the woman who's on the fence, who, like you, has been following me on the internet for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, knows she's not where she wants to be in her career and just hasn't made that investment? What would you say to that woman?
You've been out and about this long. No results have been yielded. You can't do this by yourself. It's time for you to realize that at some point you're going to need the extra help, because what you're doing now isn't working. Yeah,
it's not working. And I think that so often, I think folks they're like, okay, well, maybe just apply for this other job. Let me try this other thing. But I guess I want to encourage people, like, there are jobs out there that are so waiting for your expertise. There are employers out there that desire your caliber of expertise, and you're wasting time, money, and energy, literally leaving money on the table, not getting the help that you need. So I invite you to invest in mentorship. I invite you to heed Vonya's words, like, it's not working. Get the help that you need, and let's have a transformational experience together. Any questions about the program, how you access the program, what the application process is like, any of that stuff, feel free to drop those in the comments. I want to make sure we get your questions answered. Vonya, thank you so much for letting me mentor you. Thank you for your willingness to share your story with my audience. I'm so grateful to serve you. And I always tell my mentees, I'm not just your mentor in session, I'm your mentor always. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm just grateful to be a part of your career development journey.
Thank you for everything. You're stuck with me now.
I know, right? I know, right? I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to be stuck with you. Have a great Juneteenth, everyone, for watching. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.